Hey guys, so this week wasn't the most eventful week in the world. Haven't been the most productive, but I mean, I just got out of school last week, as I mentioned in the last vlog, so it's alright taking a bit of a break. But this next week, gonna be kicking things up a notch, trying to get more work done. Now, on this game that I'm working on, I'm not quite sure that I'm ready to start talking about, any specific things about the game. But it is starting to really take shape, at least in my mind, and the different systems and design work and all that is starting to come together. But what I was also wanting to talk about was a little bit about the roadmap, or whatever you want to call it, like my personal plans and plans of Laravel Studios team and all that, and where we've come from and where we're planning on going. So, let's see, where do I begin? When we began working on making games, or decided to start even pursuing that, I think I was about 9 or so. That was around when we were starting to play more like Flash games online and learning more about that kind of stuff, and we started to get interested in learning to make our own games. So, over these years, especially as we got to the point of when I was like 13 or so, we started to get more concrete ideas of, everything to do with Laravel Studios and which direction we wanted to really go in. And we started to get more realistic ideas of what kind of games we really wanted to make. And we were really gaining a skill set of actually being able to make them. Some of the plans that we had along those years haven't quite turned out the way we expected. Obviously, we were still younger and didn't really have much of an idea how this stuff actually went. But skipping forward to now, our plans have gotten much more concrete and more based on our actual skills and more realistic expectations of what we can actually do. This brings me to wanting to talk about some of the more specifics about what we're planning on trying to do. So clearly there are multiple factors when it comes to this interest in game dev. Obviously the most important thing is the interest in making games. But what has to come along with that is the ability to actually earn a living doing so, because otherwise you can't really afford to keep making games. Unless it's just as like a hobby side thing, but that's never really been the direction we wanted to go. We wanted this to be the thing that we actually do for a living. So obviously, those are kind of very important, kind of go side by side, is if we're wanting to make games, we need to be able to be making money from making games so that we can afford to keep making games. Now, what comes along with that are obviously certain challenges, especially since we have never really made any money. Like, up till now, I've never gotten paid for anything significant, at least. I've mentioned before that from like the ad revenue on like the Hamburger Man, but that's only like $8, so it's not like anything significant. So obviously we're entering kind of uncharted territory for us, places we've never been before of actually starting to make money from this stuff. So I'm sure there are other facets that are almost as important, but those are the two biggest things, is that we have the passion to create games, but also we have to be able to actually make money from doing these. So how do we do that? Basically, the idea is to start off small, doing these web games, but in a slightly different way. Okay, there's something in web games that started, especially with Flash games, because obviously that was how you made web games back in the day, called game sponsorships. It's basically where you license out your game, usually to one specific site / company, and they pay you to host your game, and they display ads, and they get their money back through that way. But now you've gotten paid to make your game, and you could move on to making like another game. So basically, that model is what I'm going with on Rotate. Oh, did I just drop the name of the game? I suppose that's one way to do it. Okay, but basically, the idea is I make the game, get it to a point where it's practically done. I get in contact with a specific game studio I have in mind, but if that doesn't work out, I'll approach some others. we negotiate a deal, I get paid, the game gets released, and I can move on to making another game. So, as far as how much I'll make from it, usually with this kind of thing, as long as the game is good and the market's doing well, I could probably make at least a couple grand. So that's a good start, especially considering that it takes a couple months to make these kind of games. So I might get into more specifics as I go through this process so that I can kind of show you how the whole thing goes. But obviously the point that I'm at right now, none of that stuff really matters right now. What matters is making a good, solid game that's not trying to be overambitious or too big for its own good. It's just something that's simple, small, and enjoyable. Alright, so what am I doing after that? Well, as I mentioned, I am going to be moving on to working on another project, and that actually is another web game that I'm going to be going through a similar model with. And that game is going to be Chapter 1 of the Extraction point-and-click game series. The pilot has been out for a little while. People have been enjoying it looks like. I mentioned it in my first vlog, actually. I think I'll leave a link down in the description if you want to go check it out. But anyway, once that's done, which will be another point later on in this year, a few months out, what am I doing after that? Well, we're taking it another step, and that's where me and Alex are going to start working together. We're going to make, first, kind of more true Lightwolf Studios game, although these other games will be released under that name. It's going to be more of us actually working together to create the entire game. And that game, I'm not going to mention what it's called, but we actually do have an idea of what it's going to be. But it's going to be kind of at the point where we're starting to get more of our business, more the business side of things in place. And then, after that, beginning of next year, we've got a bigger game. So we're going to be kind of progressing our way into making bigger, more interesting games. In this game, that will be at the beginning of next year, at least according to the current plan, which should hold true. That is going to be our first paid game. It's where players can buy the game. Obviously, that's a completely different model, so we are trying to get to the point where we're comfortable with this model that we're just entering, the whole sponsorship system, and then we'll be moving on to starting to work our way into the model of where people can actually buy the games and all of that. Now, we've got a couple other games planned out for after that, but really, it's getting to the point where it's hard to plan out, like, over a year from now what we'll be doing, because plans are always going to change. So anyway, that is going to be it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video, hope you learned something. But yeah, if you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, maybe a comment, and definitely subscribe for more content from me in the near future. So yeah, I'll see you around. Bye.